Anyway, it's all happening. In every sense of the word.
Actually, it's all happening.
Because before we actually came live, but we thought we were live, but we weren't live. We started talking about the Mourinho stuff, because it's been a little while since we've actually done an XG Files. I think it's been a couple weeks maybe. And then we didn't get to do one last week on the usual Friday because Steve thought he had stuff better to do, like interviewing Mourinho in Lisbon. So he's called me up and gone, Ronnie, I'm not doing XG Files on Friday. I've got a little interview in Lisbon.
Oh, the other shit that
do you know what I mean? But I was like, fair enough for that.
Fucking graft, you know. Like, serious. I was up for 22 hours.
I heard that from Jay earlier when you spoke to him, but I didn't know he was up for that long when he was doing the Mourinho stuff.
Oh, mate, it was brutal. And then I had to drive home afterwards, and I was a bit like, I'm not going to go home.
Spending 22 hours with Rio Ferdinand, though. Not that bad.
But the thing is that we've worked together now for a good few years, so it's the same as like when me and you work together somewhere. Like, he's like a mate. I mean, the conversation goes every direction.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And obviously, it's done the rounds. It's made big news. You've obviously made the newspaper as well. We was talking about how it's gotten to the back.
Even that little ding-dong we had in Liverpool, that made the papers, but online, didn't it? Like, and all of them, actually. But this has made print. Like, Rio's comments on whatever generally does go and make all of the online media on a Monday after we do Vibe with Five, like, deep. But, yeah, this one's done a bit of a mad one.
Because I've listened to pretty much most of it, and it was definitely an interview that's done big numbers, probably will do bigger numbers as well. And I feel like you've got even bigger interviews to come, haven't you?
Yep.
Because how hard was it for you to keep the secret of you doing Mourinho?
Not hard.
Because obviously,
I mean, everyone here knew, didn't it? But
yeah, everyone here knew, but we didn't want to say and put it online, though. But it has done big stuff. Because the reason why I thought it's all happening, we're not even here to just speak about Mourinho. So obviously yesterday, Steve obviously did a live for you where he spoke about Jason Wilcox as someone at United are probably going to get in, and obviously been linked to the likes of Sam Jewell. United and Steve's going to be doing in-depth videos on both of those candidates and who we're getting in. But it looks pretty much like Ornstein's kind of not been as bullish on the Asworth stuff as Fabrizio Romano has. But he still made it seem like it's very much a likely possibility where from Romano's doing the whole almost transfer dynamic craze, being like Asworth has his heart set on United and he's definitely coming. And then now they've asked Eddie Howe about it. And then when Eddie Howe was asked about Dan Ashworth's access to Newcastle secrets, he goes, "Your concerns are relevant. I don't know quite how much I can say on that, but I share your feelings." And that's why I say he's in a position of power with a lot of intelligence and information. That's why it's a slightly unusual situation.
It is.
It is very unusual because he's had a lot of success at Brighton. He's gone to Newcastle. He's kind of emulated a lot of that success as well. He would obviously know the ins and outs of how it works. And Newcastle, I know Newcastle fans try and force a rivalry anyway, but they have become on par of the last couple of years.
What they spent on the pitch hasn't been the sort of drastic sort of City and Chelsea injection when they got oil money. It hasn't.
They've come out recently said they're not even allowed to spend as much as they want.
Yeah, because they've not, because what they've done is they've got their oil money during financial fair play. Chelsea got it before financial fair play was a thing, and City getting it basically caused financial fair play, I think. So them and PSG, I think it'd be fair to say. So Newcastle have come into it. All right, it's an unfortunate time, but at least you're going to have owners that are going to be spending at least on the facilities, the infrastructure, and all that lot. But what they did do was they did go and put the groundwork in, and generally, like, what was the changes to the Newcastle starting 11 of the Newcastle side that just avoided relegation and the Newcastle side that got Champions League football? Was it like Trippier? Wasn't a lot, was it?
When you looked at their 11, it wasn't. They definitely massively overachieved, and that's why Eddie Howe gets all the plaudits that he does get. Because you have had obviously.
So you go, okay. So what was that? Is Eddie Howe a genius? No, I think he's a good coach.
Do you reckon it was the aura of the club and the fans kind of getting behind seeing the back of Mike Ashley?
No, I think it's a lot of putting the infrastructure into place. No, I'm not saying Dan Ashworth got them Champions League. I wouldn't say that. But I wouldn't also just say it was solely down to Eddie Howe getting them Champions League either.
Nah, it doesn't. But he's obviously coached them very well. They've had a very intense style of play. I feel like it's hurt them because they've had the similar amount of injury issues that United have had. And I feel like they've not been able to deal. United struggled with it, but I think Newcastle have significantly struggled with it as well because they're Champions League. They have a very intense way of playing anyway, so I feel like they kind of had a little bit of burnout. They started like Lewis Smiley, 17-year-old. They started week in, week out against PSG, Man City. And I don't think ideally you'd expect that from a club that's had a cash injection. And also, I just want to address my man. Can you go upstairs to my floating... No, I'm saying upstairs up a little bit. Can we get this Liverpool fan off the podcast? From Floating Man. Who's a Liverpool fan? You can't be referring to me, surely. Where have you got that from? Where is
he? Played for him. You obviously support him.
Nah, he's got to be joking. Otherwise, he's just an absolute muppet. Just coming to chat shit. But anyway, so on the Dan Ashworth thing, obviously, it might be a concern. Do you reckon him having secrets of how the ins and outs of Newcastle and the way they operate would be actually that much of a concern?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Because a well-run club, so not Manchester United the last decade, would have, I think... I mean, even David Moyes spoke about this when he came to Manchester United, and it wasn't obviously something he was able to implement at Manchester United. But I remember reading this, that at Everton they had a recruitment room and players weren't allowed in it. And in that recruitment room was the starting 11 and bench, so maybe it was like up to 10 subs, so a bit of a giddy bench, of what they expected the team to be for 5 years. So what's your starting 11 going to be for the next 5 years? And then, each year underneath, so let's say under Fellaini, they might have had how long his contract was. So maybe they go, okay, and then in brackets underneath it on season number 3, new contract. Or just some shit like that. But either way, they had 5 years worth of planning. So if you was to look at United right now, yeah? So if you had this year's starting 11, I would say Casemiro and Varane are in that. I reckon one of them's not in it next year.
Right? At least, yeah.
And then by year 2, but certainly by year 3, both of them are no longer in that starting 11. So you then go, that should go, right, okay, well, if we can identify 2 or 3 defenders now, and we'll see when we can get them, and we'll see when that lines up with Varane going, all right, let's keep that... this guy over here, can you go make me a fucking list of these guys? Get me 5 or 6. We go to Ten Hag with them and go, these are the 5 or 6 centre-halves that you've got. Any concerns of any of them, or is that where you want to be? Okay, can you put them in your order for me? I think that's how it should be. So like if I'm working for, let's say you're my manager and I'm chief scout, head of recruitment, something like that. We would have a sit down. We've put together our 5-year team sheet for United, and you might have said to me, right, Varane's going to go. Casemiro's going to go. By the time we get to that 5th year, maybe Marcus is going as well, because he'll be 30 by then, won't he? So
yeah.
We'll move Marcus on by then as well. And there might be some caveats in that. Well, Mbappe moving from PSG, which we're going to touch on in a minute, if PSG have got 100 mil and they want to put 100 mil down, you show me a play we can get for 50 mil, I'll replicate what Marcus does, and we'll put that over 50 million into the defender, and we've improved the squad by moving on Varane and Rashford, maybe. Maybe that's an option. But as head of recruitment, what I'm thinking I do is I go away now, I get half a dozen what I think are, this is a dead cert to start for United. I find 6 of them. And I say, right, there you go, there's my 6. And then you as the manager, you tell me the order that you want them to come in. So you might say, who are we thinking?
Right now, the list could be endless. That we can get in right now.
Just say Kim Min-jae, right, as an argument. Let's say Kim Min-jae. Kim Min-jae is my number 1. And I go, okay. Realistically, he's not number 1, busy, because getting him out of Bayern's going to be hard work. So, okay. But the gaffer wants him as number 1, so okay. I'll think of him as
United,
number 1.
Bayern, not a bad relationship.
No. I'll think of him as my number 1. Okay, who's your number 2? Danso?
Todibo.
All right, Todibo. Okay, number 2's Todibo, right? Let's have a look at him. And then I'll go to work on those. Now, if I get knocked back from those 2,
then
I'm going to start looking at 3 and 4. If I land one of those 2, then we're sweet, aren't we?
Because you've also got Diamandi and the young up and coming like Diamandi and Antonio Silva.
Euro.
But these are like 100 mil euro kind of.
Well, that's it. And then maybe there's another parameter. Maybe there's a third person in the room here who goes, okay, lads, if you do that, but we also think we need to bring in a whatever other position you're thinking of, and to do that, we'd sort of mentally set aside 80 mil for this. If you're thinking that's going to cost you 100, you're going to leave yourself short in this area. Because ultimately, you're not playing a video game. You have to balance shit out. Otherwise, you fall foul of financial fair play. And I think that's how it should be done. I think, it isn't the manager that gets out there and goes and scouts the players, finds out, does the deal, decides how much they earn, decides how much they're going to pay for him. I think the manager involvement is, I want a centre-half. So you as a manager, or flip it, you're my head of recruitment. I'm going to say, Ronnie, I want to go and get me a defender. And you go, right. And you come back to me with 6. And then we together look through what they're all about and go, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Right, what's the pros and cons? Kim Min-jae's going to cost you 100 mil. He's a little bit older. Right, all right. And he's going to be on fat wedge. So to get him out of buying, you're probably going to have to put another oneer on top of what he's on. Okay, does that move him down the list? Yeah, he is what we want on the pitch.
What you've just said then has been United's problem over the past 10 years. United hasn't been, especially in recent times, the almost like sparkling commodity, like where it's United, I want to go there, I want to play for him. There might still be a little bit of that because we still have a bit of the history. But in terms of an incentive point of view, because United have reeked of so much desperation, especially when it comes to transfer markets, some are in and some are out. When you're convincing top players to come to the club, the only way we can really get them to really want to come is by giving them more money than what they're on. And then you've set a precedent then, and it's got worse and worse and worse to the absolutely appalling wage structure that we have now, that we are trying to demolish, because we need to demolish it. Do you know what I mean?
One sec. Oh, it's just changed. Right. It's just changed. So the trending topics on Twitter on Ronaldo's computer at the minute, right? It just said, it's 3 different trends, but the way it reads is like a sentence. So it just said, Mikel Arteta murdered Cat Dealey.
Did it actually?
Yeah. Right now it says, Mikel Arteta murdered Labour government. Look. So it was Cat Dealey. Where's she slipped down to?
It's point down a little bit. He's gone right down. But for me though, it's gonna be majority football stuff, innit?
Oh, Julian Assange murdered, Bounty, Mbappe, Raheem Sterling. Something's going on.
They're communicating with us.
Yeah, so I think you sit there, the director of football, the head of recruitment, your financial guy or chief negotiator, whatever you want to call them, the manager and his assistant, and the head of academy should all be sat around a table making this recruitment room where they've got 5 team sheets going forward. So you would expect Nick Cox to be in that conversation. So you're going, I need a centre half, we're going to do this, that and the other, and one of them going, what about Kambala? And you go, okay, we don't think he's up to the standard, or maybe we think he needs a loan. That's what they need to get around a table and thrash that out, and they need to do that for every single position, every single player. Right, okay, what do we think about Harry Amas? Do we think he's a good left back? Yeah, we think he's a good left back. Okay, is he good to be in the first team? Not yet. Okay, well, what does he need? Like, if you can have a conversation with someone and you say, has he got the potential to be in the first team? And you say yes. All right. So between where he is now and where he would be a first team player, how many things does he need and what are they? Okay, how does he go get them? Okay, can we write him a training program? Does he need like 50 games playing like Championship League One? Okay, do we know a club that'll give him 50 games and not likely to sack the manager and fuck him off? Because that's an important relationship. And then you go and do that, and then after 2 years you bring him back. You don't do what you've done with Alvaro Fernandes and just think like, oh, we just have this fucking kid who goes and gets player of the year in the Championship at Preston, absolutely fucking rassing it up at left back. Meanwhile, United need a left back.
They just obviously didn't think he was good enough, and a lot of people think they let Fernandes go because he knew Harry Amas had a higher ceiling than him. So that's one of those thought processes. And also, Ahmad did the same thing for Sunderland in the Championship. He's come back and he seems out of favour. You know, Amad Diallo looked a little bit a level above when he was playing for Sunderland.
He did.
And then he's come to United and he's not got any opportunity. He's not got the same opportunity as Amari Forson has got. No. But obviously, someone did tell me off the record journal. It's quite in. He says the Howson's inclusion has a lot to do with the political side of it.
It's time for a new contract.
Yes.
Okay, but then that's a load of bollocks, isn't it? So you go, okay, well, let's say that's the case, right?
Yeah.
Well, do we think Howson is a first-team player?
I think Ten Hag massively likes him.
Okay,
and he's vouching for him.
Well, if he does, then he does.
Whereas I think Ten Hag likes Amari Howson more than the club does. Do you know what I mean? But I think if you're a gaffer and you look at youth players, sometimes you can have a little. That's how much it matters when you're Amari Howson's age, trying to break into the first team.
Oh yeah,
a lot to do with whether the manager actually fancies you or not. Do you know what I mean? But I think the Ahmad ones. But from a political side, I feel like Ahmad should be getting more opportunity for the fact that we pay so much money for him, and he needs to at least give it enough games where you can see whether he's up to it or not.
You've got to make mistakes as well. I mean, I tell you what, Prushicever and Vidic, they had 6 months and they were given opportunities.
Yeah. I was looking at, he says, I'd rather see Fernandes and Lindelof at LB. He struggled at Villa when he come on left back.
I don't think anyone would disagree. Is there anyone in the chat who'd be like, no, I play Lindelof left back over Fernandes? I don't think so.
But do you not think that was a bit of a weird change because of how Bailey was playing to
take him off?
Take him. I think
for them to take Bailey off.
I think Emery taking off Bailey won us the game.
Yeah.
And then because I felt he was on the verge of winning them the game.
Yeah.
And then he took him off and put Diaby didn't have the same joy, but he was struggling, Lindelof. But what was bothering me was
I think I'd have put another player in that area alongside him.
They did.
And go 2v1.
He did do that. Emery did that for 10 minutes. He did not see he brought Diaby on, and then told Diaby to it was almost Diaby and Leon Bailey and Diaby were both almost 2v1 in Lindelof, and I kept seeing it, and then I think I was on the watch and was getting annoyed because you know what was happening. So Ten Hag's brought Lindelof on left back, right, to get absolutely twisted in and out by Leon Bailey. Emery's seen what's happened and he's put Diaby on to kind of double up to make it worse. So you've got like £100 million worth of tricky right wingers, 2 left footers on Lindelof, and I think he didn't go back and help once. Rashford,
that orders.
And I know sometimes you can't attack an outlet and that, but I thought that was a bit of an interesting one. But yeah, on the because if you're gonna kind of conclude the Asworth thing, I think it's.
Oh, but yeah, so it was secrets. So
yeah,
what if Asworth's been part of like a 3 to 5 year planning phase at Newcastle, where they might have identified some targets. I've seen a fucking right back in Bulgaria that they're thinking is going to replace Trippier in a few years because he's not young. Like, what if they've got forget Isaac, we got another Isaac on the fucking cards coming right up. Like, just watch. All of that industrial information that he'll have, the competitive information. If he's not already downloaded it and printed it and fucking.
Well, Brighton worried about that when he went to Newcastle, though.
Yeah, it's a valid thing for every business. More so when you're closer together and rivals in the league, I think. Like Newcastle and United. Yeah. If you've come from Osasuna to Manchester United, I don't think anyone's really overly arsed. I don't think you're shopping in the same shops. But I think Newcastle and Manchester United absolutely would have been shopping in the same shop. Not only that, you probably know what was his role? What's his actual title at Newcastle? It's not director of football, is it?
I think it is. Technical director, is it? Does anyone know his actual journey of the fishing? Because I've run out of keeping track with all the names, but I think it is technical director. He's not the CEO. He's almost like technical director, sporting director. I'll just go with sporting director. Yeah, in some way.
It's much of a muchness, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Do you think he maybe knows their competitive weaknesses as well as their strengths?
Probably.
You know what I mean? He might be like, and is that one of the reasons why he's actually quite keen to leave? And he might be like, listen, the fucking rug's getting pulled out from underneath Newcastle with a quickness. And was that why Barada left?
Escape the charges. That's eventually coming from these sports watching projects.
But not just that, but I like the fact that they've looked around football. Wilcox must have a relationship, I think, there with someone because he's only been at Southampton 6 months, 7 months. And then you brought in Barada. Even approaching Barada, that's on top, innit? Like,
yeah, fucking weirdo. Anyway, go.
Fuck him off.
Newcastle fans arrived. But go on. Yeah.
I think if you... what was he even saying?
He was talking about how like Dan Ashworth's come, and then
you're
talking about the kind of
it's mad to even approach like a Barada, because like if he says no and goes and tells City, United are shopping around, it's a risk, innit? Because like everyone else goes, oh shit, and then lets everybody else know.
You think he might have got blackmailed?
No, I don't think so.
Remember, you were involved in 2 of these 115 charges. Remember, something like that. Do you know what I mean? Where are you going? Where do you think you're going?
I'm not. You mean Brada?
Yeah, Brada. Yeah.
Don't you meant me?
No. I thought that's what they might have said to Brada.
Although I think there's a Stratford Paddock player that might be involved in at least a couple of them.
Yeah. They did. I feel like there was a lot of that going on because they basically almost monopolised youth football the same way that Chelsea have for a long time. And do you not think it's quite funny that 2 of the better outside United have just got that history of it, but outside in the past 10-15 years,
they're financially bullied, aren't they?
The best academy producing clubs in England have been Chelsea and City, generally for the most part. And do you not think it coincidentally coincides with the fact that they've become like this sports washing project with all this oil money fueled in, where they kind of it doesn't just happen at the top, but they do it.
Well, Chelsea
down
and
below.
City have both been found guilty and charged of stuff relating to like eligibilities, transfers,
paying 14-year-olds pro wages, probably
just general fuckery with both of their youth teams, haven't they?
And the way they work around it is what they make. They don't pay the 14-year-old kid, but they'll give the parent a job.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, what's quite funny is I love the things that people extrapolate. So when Gabby came and signed for us, he signed for us because he knows. Did you know him?
Yeah, I know him.
And Nosa.
Yeah, Nosa.
And actually he knows Omar and a couple of the other players in the team.
He went to my school as well for a little bit, but he
went Lero, didn't he?
But he knows Nosa from City.
So Gabby knows a handful of the Paddock lads.
Yeah.
So he'd moved from Brazil. He played first team for Red Bull Bragantino in Brazil, which that's mad, isn't it? Really, when you think about it. And now he plays for Paddock.
Yeah, because you've never seen in shape Gabby though. That's why.
No, even when he came first time around, he was still.
Because when he first came to England and he was at City, he was like proper. Leaner than me. Do you know what
I mean? Joey, you can still see it now. Rondos.
Yeah.
Any of the little rondos that we do, or there's a box we do.
Because he has all that you've seen from him, but he was quick enough and mobile as well.
So I mean, his touch is immaculate and his vision's outrageous. He's just not got the fitness to. If he did, he'd jump straight to like.
And I think he lives a good life in Brazil when he goes there, and I feel like that's enough. That's enough to make you let go.
Yeah. So either way, he's obviously at Paddock. Now, what's funny is he signs for Paddock, but there'd been some sort of like investigation going on about what happened to him when he was at City, and I think it ended up in one of the papers. And it actually genuinely might be that one of the charges that they're thinking with, or because there's fuckery afoot, isn't there? I think what he told me was he basically was getting just cash. They just come and give him cash, which is not legal.
Yeah.
And they give his mum and dad a job. I think they were both scouts.
Yeah.
For City, and he's like, my dad's never scouted in a day in his life, but that's what they were doing. Now you give him a job as a scout and a house, I think.
Nah, the house and stuff, that's normal.
Wages.
House and stuff normally. When you bring international players around that age, they do kind of help them with the housing and stuff.
But United players, get put in digs, so they get moved in with a family. So there's no fuckery afoot. It's quite clean, isn't it? Like, I'm not giving you your house and you the job. Like, no, the player comes over, and so yeah, there's a good chance that guy. But what made me laugh was loads of City fans going, "Oh, just he signs for fucking this red cunt," and then look at what comes out. Like I had anything to do with it. Like I knew. What
yeah.
Gabby actually texted me and he was like, I wonder if I've still got it on his phone. Or it might be on my other phone. He texted me and he was like, "Who should I report this to?" And I was like, "Mate, I have no idea. Like I don't even know. Like, I think you might get in trouble for some of this.
What, me?
No, him.
Oh. Obviously not on about a Lahore.
No, not on about Gabby Ogbon Lahore. No, we're on about Gabby that plays for Paddock, Brazilian lad.
Yeah, but that does happen. But you know what people have said.
Funny if he was one of the couple of charges.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. But I know just United just happen to be going in a better direction, and I think we are trying to accumulate some sort of Avengers of boardroom staff, and it's undoubtedly going to help. Do you think that Ineos, Dan Ashworth, and people that are involved will sniff around for old boy Killian?
No, I don't think so.
Some people are still doubting him in the comments. Some people said they don't know if he can do it week in, week out in the Premier League, and that brings me to something. We're talking Mbappe, but there's something else. I want to get your opinion on this actually as well, Steve. Something I'd probably ask you upstairs, but that's you on this.
I think he's going to Real Madrid.
Yeah. But it's more about. Do you agree that over the past few years, that the Premier League has becoming Bundesliga-fied? This is what a lot of tacticals and people are saying.
Yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
and it annoys me a little bit because as fun, but on one hand, it's fun. Like the Championship is fun.
Like as defending got worse and worse in the Premier League.
Facts. That's why when people was like absolutely wanking themselves stupid over Van Dijk, but like no one's near him, you're like, yeah, because there's no fucking good defenders anymore. Like when you think about the defenders back in the day, like who's England's best defenders at the moment? If you ask Gareth Southgate, he's saying Harry Maguire.
Do you think that's coincided?
He's saying John Stones.
Do you think that's coincided with attackers?
John Stones is not a defender.
He is.
Realistically. No,
not
he
anymore.
plays a defensive position, but what's his role? He ain't tackling, winning headers and fucking sweeping up.
He couldn't do that though. That's what the thing is with Stones is. Stones is very injury prone, doesn't play a lot, but he actually is. When he's playing, he's a world class defender. And you know what the problem with Stones is? Stones has been made into like this DM kind of player, inverted right back kind of player from Pep. But when he was at Everton and shit, like before it, he was everything that you've just said. Because you don't play for Everton as a centre half, no matter who's the manager, without having to be a defender first. They start Tarkowski week in, week out. He's a Premier League defender. I don't want to disrespect him, but he's like, his play style and his profile is very like League One. Do you know what I mean? Tarkowski, it's all like...
It's a really high level.
Very high level. Blood and thunder. Gets his head and everything. Blocks everything. Clearances. Do you know what I mean? And because that's where he started. He started his career at Oldham. He came through the Oldham Academy. Because I remember knowing that. And
he's from around here.
And worked his way up. Yeah, he's from around there. But... Lewis Dunk is another one. I think Lewis Dunk is incredibly underrated. I watched him against Arsenal early in the season. It's one of the best defending performances I've seen for one player in ages. But I also was going to counteract what Steve said. I don't know if it's just defenders I've got them a bit worse from a fundamental standpoint, but I feel like attackers have got a little bit better. Maybe better in a sense of
different.
They're like more more pacier, and I also think the tactics now might ask more of defenders now than then. With the high lines.
It's just different. It's just different. So the game is different. Like, if you go and watch the 1968 Cup Final, it's not a good watch with modern eyes.
Yeah.
It is played at a walking pace.
Yeah.
Tackles, shit, man. There'd be about 15 red cards with some of the tackles that go in.
Yeah.
Things are different. The game is different. And it's not necessarily... People always think that the evolution always means better. It doesn't always mean better. Like, look at fucking cars in the 90s. They weren't better. Compared to like cars in the 60s and shit like that. No, evolution doesn't always mean better. It just means different, right? People focus on different things. Certain things are favoured and certain things are given less priority in that. When you look at things that were favoured in football in the 90s, so we had wingers. They played from midfield, but they were wingers. And they would run at the fullbacks. So... you couldn't be a winger in the 90s if you couldn't cross the ball. Yeah? If you was an Mbappe sort, he probably played as a 9, right? All right, Mbappe is a 9 now, but he doesn't even start on the left. Like, he just doesn't come through. He either comes through as a 9 or he doesn't play on the left wing for a major period of his life. Because now you have that 3 forwards, whereas previously that would have been a big man, small man partnership sort of thing. Maybe it was one with a 10 behind them. But your wingers were always, their job was to deliver for those guys. Your creators are moving around. You're seeing fullbacks become more involved in build-up play. Fullbacks were full defenders at some point. Then they became a tool to overlap. Here's the thing. When everyone plays one formation, the team that breaks the most. So when 4-4-2 was 4-4-2 and it was the king of the world, the teams that were going 3-5-2 were overloading midfield a little bit because they'd put in 5 against 4. Then you were seeing teams would go to a 4-3-3, and that 4-3-3 actually was more like a 4-5-1 in reality, because those wingers would always come back into midfield. So that would be overloading midfield, and they'd still then have the attacking outlet, what's going on up front, but they'd also be a little bit more structurally sound at the back. Someone has to change something. Like 4-4-2 will come back into fashion within the next 15 years, and it will look like revolutionary because of the way someone manages it. Right now, you're seeing like...
I think he plays 4-4-2 in a weird way, though. Villa.
They do, yeah.
But it's
more
like
of a 4-2-2.
It's almost like a 4-2-2. Like, you know, the Ragnick? Yeah.
So when you see defensive shape setups or playing out at the moment has become the number. Like, I think that's the biggest change in the last 15, 20 years.
So when you take this back to the Bundesliga side, like, is it been transitional? Is it easier to score the more goals in Premier League games now? Is it more of a haven for attackers? Because the thing is, that's what everyone says about the Bundesliga, but people are seeing that happen to the Premier League.
Yeah.
And the theory is now you don't get a Bundesliga striker because it's obviously your stats are heavily inflated there, which is still is the case. But has it gone less away from that? Because when I'm talking about Mbappe and whether he can do it in the French league or he can do it in the Premier League, I think the Premier League almost suits him better than the French league in a way. In a weird way. If he ever comes to the Premier League, I feel like you'll see. I think he'd probably he would score more goals. I think this might sound wild, but I'm willing to back it. I think he'd score just as many goals or more in the Premier League for a big team as he would in a Liga.
I think it entirely depends on who and what's around him, because you've also got to think like what he gets at PSG, and I think this has ruined him, and this is what makes me turn off to him, because when I see him, if I'm in possession and I'm in a team that's got Mbappe in it, I'm loving life. But if I'm not the best team in the world, and he gets away with it a little bit because in the French league, they're the best team in the world. And in world football, France is the first or best team in the world at all times because of the positions that they've got. They can go toe-to-toe with anybody. He's never got to play off the back foot. So he's never in a team, and to an extent, Messi's never had this either. So some players can go through their entire career and not need to ever have to put a shift in and go, we're going to play a lot of the game today without the ball. Like tomorrow, we're going to play a lot of that game without the ball, right?
I think you've got it backwards, because I think that's actually I think you'd see a different Mbappe in terms of he's playing for a team that doesn't always have the ball a lot, and he's able to like counter and transition in space when the opposite team's
I think
that might
suit
him.
But what we see with him work rate wise in the PSG team is a fucking nightmare. Like, I think he'd be a nightmare to coach, because I don't think he's doing anything that you want.
I think PSG have caused that. I reckon that because Mbappe at Monaco, I think he wasn't like that at Monaco. But do you reckon he can flip the switch?
Well, we'll find out, I think, because...
Do you think he's got Real Madrid nailed on? Because it's come out that Real Madrid are actually, because you know that they're a big footballing superpower, they're still a bit pissed about what he did the last time they came in for him. They literally have, it's actually put them off him a little bit. They'll still get him, but they've said, like, if he comes, he's going to have to take a huge pay cut from what they were going to offer him initially. And also, I think they want to chat to him about, like, how he kind of, like, he did him over last time. And obviously, I think...
Right, wait. Let's roll our advert, and afterwards, I'll talk to you about what I think's happening with that.
Yeah, okay.
Right, lads, gather around. You have heard me banging on about Manscaped for ages, mainly discussing the virtues of a well-trimmed ball bag. But today we're going to move a little bit north, and something that you might have actually seen, my beard. Manscaped isn't just a master of below-the-belt grooming. They have conquered beard territory too. And I know this is groundbreaking news. Let's delve into the details. Now, we are all well acquainted with Manscaped's brilliance for the downstairs department. They've been many a saviour of many a date night and many a ball bag. And you know the Lawnmower 4.0 by now. I'm not going to tell you about any of the features for it, because if you don't know them, then you're never going to know them, right? It's a certified hero for the nether regions. But they're here for the beards now as well, and they've got the beard hedger. It is a cordless miracle worker that is both tough and gentle. It takes down facial forests in a single stroke. It's got 20 different lengths of settings. It gives you the power to totally customize your beard without cluttering up the bathroom and having a million different attachments. Now, they've also got another member of the band, and it's the Handyman. That is a dual-sided foil razor that has got your back, whether it's your face, whether you're going clean-shaven or just tidying up a little bit around the neck. It is the epitome of comfort in the shaving world, and it's got a seamless and nick-free experience. So listen, if you want to give your beard the VIP treatment that it absolutely deserves, get over to manscaped.com, use the special code XG20. You're going to get 20% off and free shipping. And while you're grooming the jewels, let's not neglect the crown. With Manscaped, who said beauty had to be a pain? Let's keep it neat and tidy, top to bottom. All right, so make sure you go and check out Manscaped. The link for that will be in the description below. We've got a couple of super chats here. One from Fitz. He says, Ineos mean business. Surprised people are shocked. Yeah, they do mean business.
Yeah, they do.
They're getting about it. You know, and I think the impact of what they're doing from a footballing structure point of view is good. And then we've got Ant L says, if 90s footy was drafts, now is a chess game. Nah, I think that's... I disagree with that. I think that's a little bit too... what's the word I'm looking for here? I think that's a little bit too simplistic. I still think, you know... I'll put it this way. I think if you bring that 99 team into modern football, it can play it. Not a problem. Not a problem. I don't think it struggles at all. Don't think it struggles from a technical point of view. Don't think it struggles from a tactical point of view. Don't think it struggles from a... and like basically, United back in them days, they played 4-2-3-1. Dwight York didn't play as an out-and-out 9. Oh, and someone was arguing with me. I said, oh, Dwight York got 20-20. He got 29 and 20 in treble season, first season. People are like, no, he didn't. Like, well, he fucking did. And, like, in 11 Champions League games, do you know what his goals and assists was? In 11 Champions League games.
I'm going to go 8. I was going to say 8 and 5.
8 and 8. Now, I'll just remind you, we played Brøndby twice. We played Barcelona twice. We played Bayern Munich 3 times. We played R9's Inter Milan twice. And the best team in the world at the time was Juventus. And we played them twice. And we didn't lose to any of them. And Dwight York got 16 goals and assists in 11 games. Like, Dwight York does not get the respect he deserves for that season. And he got 29 goals and 20 assists. And some guy was like, oh, he got 18 and 11. No, that was the Premier League. You can't discount what he did in the fucking Champions League, you absolute sausage. Anyway. Yeah.
Well, all right. So what was you going to finally say then on the Mbappe? So he probably is going to Madrid, right?
But, I think he is, right?
But they are not happy with him because Real Madrid still are a club of power, status, and I feel
Real Madrid have a itch that they have to scratch, and that is get me the shiniest thing in the world. Yeah, that's their move. Galactical
right? Signings.
That's what they do, right? There's 2 shiny things in the world that they could probably reach out and touch right now. That's gettable for them.
Haaland and Mbappe.
Outside of that, what else is shiny enough that they're going to want to touch it?
I'm not sure. You're right.
There is one more, in my opinion. Odegaard, yeah. But because they failed, because it didn't work out. But I don't know if it's their thing to go back. They seem to move on.
Nah, I don't think so. They've already got Bellingham. Yeah, probably is. They might go get Bellingham's brother. Because he's doing a bit of a madness. But yeah, I think I think Haaland stays. I don't think Haaland's going to stay at City for until like he's 30 though. I think there's a part of Haaland that does want to do the whole conquer England, but I do want to try and go to play for Real Madrid or Barcelona and do La Liga as well, which I think he'd find harder. I think it's more difficult to score goals in La Liga now. La Liga's apparently over the past couple of years gone a lot more like pragmatic. You know, like almost towards like Serie A.
I think you'll see them tactical shifts. And I think the Premier League is due one, because I think people this season there has been a bit of an explosion of like fucking basketball, football, especially at Old Trafford. Unfortunately, but I do think you'll probably see a little bit more of a move towards people going a bit more defensive again. I just want to see a bit more longevity with managers, man. It pisses me off. Although we've seen
average tenure now for managers is like fucking 18 months or less.
It's ridiculous.
Too much turnover. It does feel like back in the day in prime Barclays, managers were at clubs for a while. It's almost like when you mentioned a club and a manager, it's almost like they were intertwined.
You knew what it was.
Yeah, intertwined.
You knew what it was. Now you go, when? What year?
Yeah, because you know when you think Brentford, it's Thomas Frank. It's almost like it's in unison. Thomas Frank is Brentford.
Yeah,
Brentford
if I say
is
Steve
Thomas
Bolton,
Frank.
It's Sam Allardyce.
Sam Allardyce.
Name me another Bolton manager from that time.
Because I still think Everton, Moyes. Do you know what I mean? And then that kind of thing. I actually felt like with it might sound funny, but I when I was younger, I thought that was Liverpool and Rafa Benitez.
He was there a minute.
And
that's what winning the Champions League does.
Yeah, but then obviously Arsene Wenger. But now it's like managers are just in and out. Because even like Chelsea, you think Mourinho, that's what you felt when you feel news. Even though he spent time here, obviously United, Sir Alex, and ever since then we've gone through a bit of a carousel of managers, and we've got one now where people are still not doubting whether he'll be here next year either. So it's like, and I think that's not a recipe for success. But then again, Chelsea did it for years after Mourinho.
But Chelsea did it, but they were also doing a madness on their recruitment.
Yeah, they used to hit quite a lot on their recruitment. Even though they spent big, they'd hit a lot, which recently they've gone
the opposite.
Yeah.
I still think that team is too good that it's not. I think it's going to click at some point.
It will click because I think Chelsea are the type where they're not going to think, oh, FFP. I think they're just going to keep spending. And the thing is with FFP, Chelsea managed to fit under it because...
God, that's a shout. Rune says, what about Saliba at Madrid?
I can see Saliba to Madrid being happening.
How funny would it be? Arsenal win fuck all again and then get picked apart in the summer.
I actually am very... Now that that's been said, I think next summer, at the very latest, Real Madrid bid for Saliba. 100%.
I know what, I am so here.
And I think Arsenal will let him go because I think Arsenal with Eddie, they're in a stage where I think they still be good enough at that point where the money that they'll get for Saliba, they'll just buy like the next like brightest centre half kind of thing. Yeah. So, but I can actually picture that happening.
Ant says managers have become almost disposable.
Jay, question mark before the exclamation. On the other.
Ant says managers have almost become a disposable commodity. Very few are synonymous with one club. Pep and Klopp, perhaps. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Before we leave, because you spoke about Mbappe, but another topic, obviously, it's on the thingy, it's on the formula. You're probably thinking why Gary Neville and Roy Keane are on there, but we're talking about all these machines in football. We've not had an XG file since Gary Neville came out and spoke about the early 2000s, the Italian teams, and kind of thinking that there was a lot of doping and some foul play at play, and whether it's still in the game now. And you said that that's something that you've often spoke to me about before, even Gary Neville said it, which is why when I came in, I said, oh, did you see what Gary Neville said? But you didn't see it at the time. And then obviously a lot of aggregate accounts retweeted it and it became a huge thing on Twitter because it's a big thing he's saying, even though he kind of prefaced it.
What's mad to me is that people are shocked about it because I have always felt like it was a big thing.
And then you read an article as well.
Yeah, so I follow a guy called Nick Harris, Sporting Intelligence. He's really good journalist. Definitely worth checking out. Go and see my Twitter and give it a share because there's a great article in there. And basically, Antonio Conte gets a pasting in there. And he actually goes another level. So obviously, I did that thread about Pep a while ago, sort of putting the truth out there about how he got his conviction overturned. Read that article because I hope I get this correct and forgive me if I get this wrong, but he said something along the lines of, I was ill. I'm allowed that medication. Basically there was like 3 things he said before he was like, oh yeah, just whatever. And then even the overturning of his conviction, anti-doping Italy, was not happy that it got overturned. So Pep at Brescia, there was some fuckery afoot, some serious fuckery afoot. Juventus, we've spoken about this before, had over 300 medications in their training ground for the likes of EPO and things like that. Antonio Conte, I think, took EPO, but said it was for anemia, which is what EPO sort of does treat, but I think people who are anemia are like your gran. Like, that's who gets anemia. Like, it's fucking elderly ladies usually, not 27-year-old athletes that are playing fucking international football.
Yeah, it's possible, but unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just like all these cyclists that have got fucking asthma. Like, if you've got asthma, like, you struggle getting upstairs.
Because asthma inhalers, there's 2 types of asthma inhalers. Doesn't one of them include a steroid?
Yeah, like the general one that the average 11-year-old fucking kid on your bus needs versus the one that people are taking to improve their performance. It's the same one. I think it's salbutamol. Yeah,
it's a brown, because you got a brown, because my brother was asthmatic growing up, and it was like a blue one or a brown one, and they're 2 different, but I think one of them's a little bit stronger than the other one. One of them includes a steroid, one doesn't. And I don't know, the fact that on average people worked out that not that much of the public, in general public, is asthmatic in terms of percentages, but was it like 60% of the Liverpool first team was?
No, I mean that was, so I believe that was quoted by somebody, but never verified necessarily.
Yeah.
But it's one of them, innit? But I think there is some mad stat like 30% of people who've like fucking placed at Tour de France have, and you're like, what is it about asthmatics that makes them want to ride bikes? Like, it's a bit on top, innit?
Yeah.
Like, you're like, really? And then, I don't know. I feel like sport's dirty as fuck. And for those who haven't watched it, watch the film Icarus, and that will tell you everything you need to know about how sport has got problems that it'll never fucking come out of. And, like Gregory Rodchenko and that. I mean, go read the article by Sporting Intelligence. There's so much in it.
So do you think, because I said this, do you think the solution for the secret slide doping in sport today, and probably is happening in a low-key level in football, do you think it should just be allowed? No. One way to solve it is just allowed.
That guy's created it, hasn't he?
And then everyone just takes everything, and then
there's a guy
you can build the biggest super team.
What's he called? The Enhanced Games. There's a geezer, some billionaire. Which, to be fair, this is what I want my billionaires doing.
Yeah.
I want my billionaires to be doing an absolute madness like this. Stop trying to fucking disrupt democracies and this, that, and the other. Just go and have a laugh, right? What are you doing? I'm going to get all the best athletes in the world, and when I take them and say all the gear in the world, and I'm going to see if someone can run the 100 metres in 4 seconds. I'm here for it. Like, let's find out. Because what's going to be fucking hilarious is they're going to get world-class athletes, they're going to get them world-class steroids, and they're not going to break world records, and everyone's going to go,
Yeah, because I don't think juicing to a huge level, if you're a 10.5 runner or a 10.8 runner, juicing,
you're not doing 9.5.
It's not going to just take a second off your sprinting time.
No, but those, put it this way, if you was podium level, it might get you to gold. That's the difference it's making. It ain't turning, I'm not going to do 6 months of steroids and then put Usain Bolt on his back. That's not happening, right? It just ain't happening. So I think for football, people go, oh, steroids. When people think of steroids, they think of bodybuilders.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily who's doing steroids. Like, look at people in Tour de France. All right, they have jack legs, but they're not taking steroids to be jacked, because every pound extra that they weigh, which muscle is a heavy old thing. Yes, they have big legs, but they generally have really skinny upper bodies. You don't see them like, sprinters are like absolutely bodied up, aren't they?
Yeah.
Whereas cyclists, big legs, tiny upper bodies, because that's extra poundage that they need to haul around on that bike.
But your legs need to be powerful as fuck, and your glutes need to be powerful as fuck.
They're taking things like EPO, which is going to, increases the red blood cells, which means that increases the amount of oxygen that's in your system, which means that then you can do this, that, and the other.
So it's that's what I'm saying. The gains are marginal. It's for world-class athletes that are top 20 to take them from top 20 to top 10 to top 5. It's not for someone that's top 200 to go from top 200 to top 10.
But do you know where it could make a difference? Now, like people always point to Ronaldo because he's absolutely bodied up, right? And he's still playing at the age that he's playing, right?
People say the same thing about LeBron James, because LeBron James has played for pretty much like 21 years at an absolute elite. He's not exactly as athletic as he's prime, but he's still more athletic than 95% of the league, and he's 39.
But he also spends $1 million on his body a year, doesn't he?
And also, he's had very, 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 very few injuries over the course of 21 years.
That's probably more of a marker than any fucking broccoli that he's eating.
So a lot of people think that LeBron like is one of those where.
Do you know what I think the bigger red flags would be?
Yeah.
I don't think it's happening at paddock level because
Messi,
I don't think there's any fucking point, right? There's just not.
Yeah.
It probably costs more than you would make. Do you know what I mean? Did you ever see that Liver King lunatic? He was spending 10 grand a month on gear, right? I'll give you this. It worked. He was in ridiculous shape, but 10 grand a month.
What was his inside saying though?
Did you see never mind his inside. Did you see his outside? The fucker was purple. Like, why is he purple? Like purple Ronnie.
What's he doing to his life? What's his life expectancy?
If you follow a page on Instagram called Generation Iron, it's like an obituary page. It's just like, oh, this guy's fitness influencer dead at 36. And you're like, that's weird. He was in ridiculous shape. What's happened there? Well, you know what's happened there.
That.
And all the bodybuilders, they're all dying dead fucking young. But anyway, so I think the if I was to be the smell-o-vision for who I think he's doing it, I'm looking at the League One lad that's on like $1,000 a week that thinks, fuck, if I could just get into the Prem, I'd be on 10 grand a week, 20 grand a week. I don't think it's your elite internationals. I think it's you're also ran pros, the ones that I like. I can't be injured. I'm out of contract at the end of this season, and I got a fucking mortgage to pay. I think those are the ones. You know, the ones that maybe go, can I just get into the Premier League for 2 years? That'll see me right. You know, I can maybe invest in some houses and I'll be all right then. I think those are the ones. I don't think it's your elite ones. I don't think it's the ones that have got £30 million guaranteed contracts. I don't think them guys are the ones that would be risking it for a biscuit. Because
you've got too much money to lose. But obviously, you talked about FloJo in it and how FloJo's got the 100-metre record for the women and no one's got near it. And she kind of died unexpectedly. But she was never caught for doping, even though her whole body and type and like frame changed within the course of a year and stuff like that. But people mention like obviously Bolt was clean his whole career, and I feel like he almost had to be, because otherwise without him, if it came, because athletics was going through such a dodgy stage with the kind of the doping and the corruption behind it, that if it came out that the biggest athlete of all time in the sport, he basically transcended the sport in terms of popularity as well.
Absolutely did.
If he came out that he was illegitimate, that would have destroyed athletics.
That's a lot of people that have to keep it stum now, because I think that they're like you get traffic wardens.
Yeah,
you get some traffic wardens probably embarrassed about being a traffic warden, but you get some traffic wardens who are polishing their traffic warden sign every morning, straightening it,
job's worth,
and then going out and fucking ticketing everything. What's that? Pregnant with your baby? Bosh. Fucking deal with that. What's that? You're in a wheelchair. You shouldn't have fucking parked there. Bosh. Like, I think you're going to get people that are doing that love it, that can't wait to catch you parking, that are fucking hiding behind lampposts going, go on, 5 more seconds. Bosh, there you go. I reckon you get drug testers that are like, I'll catch Usain Bolt. And they're following him, and they're fucking looking in his bins, and also like, I reckon there's a couple of people that work for the anti-doping agencies that would be like, that's their retirement fund. I caught Bolt. So yes, I think athletics probably was going, I hope that fucking never pops, because wow, what he's done for the sport is amazing. But I bet there's also people going, I'm gonna get him.
Basically cancel culture.
Yeah, man, I think that's what they'd be
cancel culture warriors definitely on that.
So listen, there's all sorts. Unfortunately, sport is dirty. You know, as a UFC fan, and having like the best era of that sport, and Pride, by the way, Pride contracts had it in capitals saying we do not test for steroids, so we can fucking get amongst it. Basically, early UFC.
I think it's a lot more
steroid era.
I think stuff like that and doping and stuff is a lot more dangerous in combat sports, though.
Yeah, in combat sport, it's rum as fuck because
you're putting someone's like, you don't want someone roided up or whatever he's putting himself going up against another human being where he's hurting him. Do you know what I mean? I feel like it's almost, it's a bit. I feel like it's a bit. That's why obviously Jarrell Miller did fight with Joshua fell through because apparently he was on like, he's on like Liver King type of Jarrell Miller. When he was first fighting Joshua, he got popped, but he didn't get popped with just one thing. He was like on all the gear. Do you know what I mean? Which means he was frightened, but also mean that he was gonna. If he went in there, he's obviously Josh. You don't know what he's gonna perform like. Josh could have been in trouble because got someone like 20 stone comes into the ring with you and he's on everything possible. Do you know what I mean? It's you got to protect athletes. Do you know what I mean?
By the way,
yeah.
Enjoy. Enjoy your weekends. Catch you in a bit. Later.
See you later.
Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.